Well, hello there. This is Nina Brown in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I just welcome you to this wonderful new technology that is supporting spirituality. Google Hangout. We've done several of these now since September. I'd say maybe 5 have been broadcast, and they are on my website, which is ninabrown33.com, and then if you do a / community-star, you'll see all of the videos that have been stored there. I think a good starting place as people begin to join in on this series of book discussions is to share with you that I have been doing this work for, golly, maybe 5 years now, and it has expanded and expressed in really magical ways, but most recently culminating, bringing together all of the work that I have done in a book. And the book is called S.T.A.R. It's an acronym for Surrender, Trust, Allow, Receive. So S.T.A.R, a now state of being, and I'll just share with you that we're going to expand this concept and change the title of the book, I guess in a month or so, to S.T.A.R Philosophy, because indeed this higher octave, expanded octave of living in a S.T.A.R now state of being is a magical tool that we can now use to create and express and live in the new earth. So, having written the book, it just occurred to me that it would be really fascinating for me to come together in live broadcasts with live participants, which Google Hangout facilitates, and also those who could choose to listen as opposed to actively participate. So I believe we've mastered this technology, but you know, it keeps changing, and who knows, maybe in the near future we'll move on to a different format. But having a book discussion, I think, is just my opinion, a stunning opportunity for people to come together in coherent thought. That is really the operative word, coherent thought. I'm just a baby student of quantum physics, but what I do know is that if we hold an intention, and for those who are listening, holding an intention that is coherent, in other words, you're not thinking about dogs, and I'm not talking about cats. We're on the same page. So our thought process is in parallel course. So we're using the foundation of S.T.A.R as a platform for discussion, thus giving us this coherent thought and discussion opportunity. And then again, in quantum physics, what happens is as you are thinking and I am speaking, or others are speaking, then that energy goes out from us in energetic, magical ways I don't understand. You know, the science of it is really beyond me, but conceptually I get it, that the energy travels out from the circle of coherent thought and conversation into the quantum field, and it entangles and creates exponential opportunities for possibilities. So what we're doing is we are creating the new earth, what I call the golden age of divine love. And why is that important? For me, it is critically important, because, and this is my truth. Everything I say is my truth, but I think you might agree. We are star seeds. We are coming together in circles, in groups across the planet to engage in the dreaming, the imagining of the new Earth. That is why we came back to this planet at this particular moment in the evolution of human consciousness, to create the new Earth, the next golden age of divine love. But there is one difference, and that is not only create it, but to anchor it and to nourish it and grow it. So how do we do that? The answer is not by ourselves. I don't believe that is at all possible. So coming together in these circles, whether as a listener or as a participant, is an opportunity for us to, I'm going to repeat myself, take a foundation, and I'm choosing the S.T.A.R philosophy as a coherent foundation for listening, dreaming, imagining, speaking in powerful new ways to create and anchor. That's the, I think I said this a second ago, the operative word. And we can do it together. And Google Hangout, hallelujah, is making that possible. You know, I'm going to dream here for a second, because when we were star seeds in Atlantis, we only had a small geographic area to dream in. When we were in Greece, when we were in Egypt, we had a small geographical area to dream in. But now, look what's happening. We have technology that is allowing my voice, your thoughts, our voices to be heard all over the planet. And I think I'm just going to stop for a second, because Amber, you're there, and I hope that you will join us in this conversation. But I'm going to continue until you pop up and introduce yourself to the listening audience. There she is. Amber in the Netherlands. Hello there.
Hello.
Hello. Amber, this is a little bit different format, which you might understand. We have some listeners who are attending, and maybe, like you, became very courageous and decided to be a visual part of this. They too, on the next broadcast, will choose the visual aspect of the conversation. And because we are broadcasting, Amber, unlike the conversations we've had over the last several months, which have been non-broadcast and more intimate, I just want you to be aware that other people will be listening to this. And so tell your secrets, but make sure that you want the world to hear them. So how about you introduce yourself to everyone, and maybe how you became acquainted with the S.T.A.R philosophy and our work.
Hello everyone, I'm Amber. I live in the Netherlands, close to Amsterdam. I always had my English failed. Well, I always was attracted to knowing more. And I had some experience with a discussions group from Know Thyself, based on Greek philosophy. And well, then Nina came on my path through Lauren Gelly. And just in the moments when Nina was there, I also was there. So I immediately feel a bond from the heart. and I love the work. I'm convinced that it's helped me further on my path, so that's how I joined in.
I love it. And Amber, over the months that we have been talking, my observation of you and your expansion and growth and willingness to experiment and play with the philosophy of S.T.A.R is really astounding. You, like so many people, I'm sure those on the broadcast, as well as many we know, have had the experiences of suffering, of fear, of expectation, all of the third dimensional attributes of life. And you've taken this new philosophy and brought it into your life and your heart in such an astounding way that I have observed a significant difference in you. Would you agree with me?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay, well, what we're going to do today, which is just a little bit different, is we're going to actually hone in on one particular component of the book, and I'll just sort of hold the book up for everyone to see. I guess that's it. And it's titled My Inner Compass. So, Amber, do you have an inner compass that you recognize? Is there a voice within you that guides and directs you? Or I'll say something I think is probably not true. Are you driven by the exterior voices from outside of you?
No, I have that voice inside of me, but I find it a challenge to when I'm very busy or in my daily life to stay connected to it. But most of the time, I I'm aware when I'm out of it, because on a certain moment I think, oh, why did I do this? I thought that before. But I have it's difficult to stay in it all the time for me, because I know it, but I act different sometimes.
You know that we're writing a guide to this philosophy, and that Christy Sweetland, who will be on the broadcast on Tuesday, talking about the end of drama, is in the midst of writing the guide, and she has an what do you call it? An exercise, which is to put a rubber band on your wrist. And when you catch yourself thinking or dreaming or acting in a way that you no longer choose, that is habitual, that is addictive, that is the old way of expressing, then you just kind of take the rubber band and you go, snap.
Well, I hope it will be so easy. Just like the moment, click.
Yeah, well, we're always looking for tools, and another tool I have is, I think we've talked about this, is click and drag, which is when I get a thought in my head that I am no good, worthless, afraid, whatever it is, I grab it. Not physically, but kind of mentally. I grab it and I drag it down to my heart. And then I allow the thought to go out into the quantum field. We've talked about that before, and it's in the book as well. And to be embraced by the entire field. And what happens is that those thoughts come back to me, but they have been adjusted and recalibrated by the quantum field and, I would say, my divinity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I found out click and drag. It's I'm not sure if it's the way for me. I find out when I have a mantra or a word inside. When I have the thoughts coming, I say Om Namah Shivaya or something like that, or another word, light, and that helps me because it changes quicker than when I have to go to my heart.
And you know what you're
Sometimes it
saying.
took me a long way to come to my heart when I'm in that kind of thoughts. So
Yeah,
then helps it more to say a mantra or something.
I love it. And what you're saying is so perfect, which is we have our own ways and our own paths and our own journeys. And you've heard me say this before. They're all perfect. They're all
Yes.
perfect. And I guess in the new energy, in the star philosophy, as the fascinated observer, and I want to explain that to the people who are listening, it is all perfect. It is all perfect. And in outside of third dimension, there is no judgment of any of it. Any of the thoughts that come into our head, they're all perfect. Does that resonate with you?
Sure. Yes, completely.
Completely, I know, but it's a new way of living. So
Yes, a great way.
let me quickly define the fascinated observers for those who are new on the call. It's a way. Well, Amber is a fascinated observer. I'm a fascinated observer, and what it means is that we are absolutely connected to every experience that, again, my truth, we've created, but we step back and disengage from the energy that comes from the past, the emotions from the past, or the fear of the future. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have, I don't know, pain in my arm. What I could do is I could say, oh my gosh, I had a pain in my arm when I was 16 and it sent me right to the whatever. And I'm probably going to have that same experience now because that's the way it always happens for me. So being the fascinated observer brings you right smack into the now moment, and you might have a memory of the past, but there is no controlling chemical neuropeptides that are running through your bodies telling you how this outcome is going to manifest. We're just fascinated. Does that ring a bell, Amber?
Yes, a lot of bells.
I'd love to have you share one of your experiences where you moved into the state of being a fascinated observer, or how you dream about doing so.
Well, a huge thing was that my mother was very, very, very much in the hospital. And the last time she had to go again, and I thought I really will go now as the fascinated observer and not with all those images and all those emotional lading, how do I say, load on it. So I went with her, and it was going very well. I could be much more in the fascinated observer, and that felt so free. And I thought, yes, it's old, it's all gone. We're now in a new state of mind. We are able to be in that, and I could much more see all the love from all the people there, and how everybody was trying to do the best they could, they can. Because I was as the observer, I could see that much more, all those love there. People, yeah.
So Amber, I'm going to take it a step further and ask you, do you believe that you changed your reality? In other words, had you gone to the hospital with expectation and with past suffering memories?
Well, I know the evening before I had to go with her, and there was a lot going through me because always all those images comes and things, because it was something I had to do from a little child, to go with her to, because she always was very sick or ill. And I really did go into it, and I thought, well, it's old. I don't have to feel it like this or look at it like this. So I thought, well, maybe I just go and I see step by step and I stay in the moment and I make the best of it. We always did, but you know, out of another attitude, out of another energy now. And that worked well. Yes.
I am just so delighted, really. First of all, I'm delighted for you because
Yes.
it is such an emotional burden to be carrying all of the suffering from the past, and these expectations, and so liberating to be the fascinated
Yes.
observer of these experiences.
Yes.
Bravo, bravo, really. And thank you so much for sharing that because it's part of your intimate journey and so easily could be private.
Hmm. Yeah, but we all go through the same processes in a way,
Hmm.
and it's also it's daily life. So we can help each other.
And trying to weave that thought of the hospital and weaving the thought of the fascinated observer back to the inner compass and this particular section of the book. I just want to tell you and everyone who's listening how this aha came to be. And Amber, I don't know whether we talked about this, but I know you've read it. I was introduced to the S.T.A.R principles, the S.T.A.R, what we're now calling philosophy, by James Jarrett of Star Dreaming, and was playing around with it, and what the heck did it mean? And surrender was, not a really pretty word, and and I was, yeah, I wasn't so sure I wanted to surrender anything, give my power away or become disempowered, I guess was the original concept. And then I had an intention. I was working with Star Dreaming, and I was supposed to expand, manage, and I don't know, do all the magic for this sacred site. And I went out on the porch, and all of a sudden, I had the most amazing aha about the word surrender. And it is very much related to Glenda Green's work in a book called Love Without End, which I read 3 times with my pencil. It is so profound. And Jesus in that book was talking about infinity space. And what he said is that infinity is not way out there. It is within as well. And then I thought, oh, I got this. I'm made up of space, and I have some particles that create the matter that I am, but I'm mostly space. And then I thought, well, my golly, if I took the intention of assisting star dreaming and doing the work that I'm here to do, and I surrendered that intention into the space of infinity and let go, wow, I mean, how powerful is that? And it was like I got this enormous hit or click of understanding that it's my ego personality that is surrendering whatever the intention is, to be with my mother in a fascinated observer state of being, or to create a sacred site expansion, whatever it is. But to surrender that, wow. So as you know, I live my life 24/7 now that way.
Great.
Yeah,
It's a
so
blessing.
well, and so surrender is an enormously powerful word, is what I'm trying to suggest. and what we've talked about before, Amber, is the use of octaves. In the book, we use octaves instead of dimensions, because we can choose to be in different octaves at different moments. When we're sad because of the loss of a friend, I mean, that's a certain octave. And when we're celebrating graduation, that's a different octave. So we can jump all over the place. But taking the definition of surrender and looking at it in its third dimensional expression of giving up power and giving up control and being disempowered versus what I'm talking about. I mean, it's an enormous jump, quantum leap, if you want. Yeah. So, maybe you would share how surrender is impacting your life. Could you do that for me?
Well, I see it very much in my mother. When you go to a hospital, in a way, you are forced to surrender in the old ways and give over to whatever they need to do to you and so on. And it gives feeling of much powerless. When you really are aligned and can step into the new ways, then I believe that every process you go through in the hospital is not out of a cramp, how do I say it, out of fear and out keeping control, what they do all the time, but I believe you can be more on the journey of your soul and connected to your inner voice where we talk about. And then you can better decide, hey, do I want this operation now? Or you can make better choices for your own self in a way in freedom and feeling what is right for your body, instead of feeling powerless because doctors are saying you have to do this or that and you do it. You have to follow. So for me, the new way is a better way, because by surrendering, I believe you can stay much more with yourself and the needs of your own body and what is necessary, what is good for you on this moment.
I love that, and I want to go back to quantum physics a little bit, because what happens for me, and I hope I can express this as perfectly as possible, when I extend and surrender an intention or a desire or a choice, another powerful word in this new energy, when I surrender that to the quantum field, what I am doing is I am surrendering the driving of the bus or my journey in life from having my ego driving the bus to having my wholeness drive the bus. And when I do that, then the field responds in the most amazing ways and brings back to me the synchronicities, the coincidences, the people, the places, the doctors, the medicine, I mean, whatever it is, that is in alignment with what it is that I have surrendered. And, jumping ahead, that's part of trust and allow and receiving. But it's my wholeness that is doing it. It is not my ego personality. So that is what I'm thinking of as you're talking about your experience in the hospital. You're just so receptive and allowing this human divinity to take care of you.
Yes.
and that is hard for the ego that is so
Yeah.
used to wanting to do whatever it needs to survive.
Hmm. And when you need to do anything to survive, you're open to suggestions from others who work with the fears you have. You know, you're very vulnerable in a way to make choices that maybe are not exactly what, yeah, what is good. In a way, everything happens like it's supposed to be, but still, I believe that you really, when you are in that kind of state, make choices that are feeling inside right.
And then, when we come back to the word inner compass,
Yes.
I think that it's that inner voice, that innate knowing, um, that is being communicated by my wholeness, my human divinity from the quantum field, that comes in to my heart and says, Nina, take this action. Nina, go that direction. Nina, whatever it is.
Yes.
So it's I guess the circle that I am suggesting is that the ego surrenders control,
Hmm.
surrenders the intention to the quantum field, to the wholeness, to the divine human. Then the field adjusts, does whatever magic it needs to do to accommodate that intention in its purest form, and brings it back to us in this aha, synchronicity, coincidence, inner voice, inner wisdom, and we get the directive for the action step. Because, and this is so important and has been pointed out to us before, that surrendering is not a state of inaction. I don't think that's very good English, but it absolutely involves action steps. But the action steps are being suggested by this inner compass, this inner wisdom, not by the dictates of the ego or anything outside of us.
Yes, that's what I meant. And you know, when I'm on those moments, it is not like I take action. It's like I've been guided because I do it out of a flow or something. I don't know. It just goes with ease and grace, to say
Well,
something.
and I think, we talk about courage a lot. I think that is an example of courage. Um, I don't believe that we make the action steps because we desire to be courageous. I think we do it because there is no other way to live for me.
Yeah.
You just go with whatever it is that
Yeah.
innate wisdom is sharing with you.
Yeah.
And then after you're complete, it gets judged as courageous. But whatever that primary step is, and maybe it's just a profound wisdom that we are tapping into that gives us the so-called courage to take the action step that might not look traditional or perceived by others as correct.
Or understand or whatever.
Yeah.
But, well, it's how you be.
And Amber, what I love about these calls and what I love about you and all the others that have popped in and out over the last months is these conversations validate that way of being. Because yes, it is courageous for me to turn right instead of left. I mean, I thought I was supposed to go left, but my inner voice is saying, you're supposed to go right. And when I hear that you're doing the same thing, then The next time that happens, I say, "Oh yes, well Amber, she, it worked for her."
And if I know I have to go right and I do left, uh-oh.
Well, and we're going to go full circle here. It's still perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what's so incredible, because we're now in this new way of living that certainly we understand as sovereign beings that right or left, it's just an experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
It take away the judgment you do to yourself. Where
right.
you think, oh, I did left, I felt I should have right, oh, what have I done? They go. But when you can look at it just as an experience, you go out of the judgment also to yourself. And then you come to much more self-love.
I actually have a right-left story. I think I wrote.
Please, yeah,
I
sure.
think I wrote about it, but I'll do it quickly because I think you've heard it before. I was in an abusive situation, and I was also in a state of lack, and my house I was renting so that I wouldn't lose it, and I moved out and moved into a little teeny apartment in Manayunk outside of Philadelphia. And I was driving down the Schuylkill Expressway, and I was going to take a left to go over the Schuylkill River to go to Manayunk to go to my apartment. And all of a sudden, in my head, in my heart, in my body, this voice shows up and says, "No, you're supposed to go downtown, and you're supposed to go to the office where this abuser was, and you're supposed to tell him you love him." I mean, how incredible. No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No way. I don't want to do that at all. No, thank you. Anyway, I always, always, always turn on a dime. Turn
Yes.
on a dime when that happens. And though I didn't really understand it, I kept going straight. I went down the Schuylkill Expressway. I went into Philadelphia. I went into South Philadelphia. I went to the office that he had locked me out of, and of course I found a parking space, and of course the door was open. It wasn't locked.
Yeah,
course,
the universe was pushing you, directing you.
Of course he was there, and I went up to him and I said, "I need to talk to you." Well, that was unheard of because I had been running away from him for the last, I don't know how many months.
Yeah.
Anyway, we sat down on the sofa, and I looked him in the eyes, and I said, "I have to tell you I love you. Thank you so much for this experience. I don't want any more of it, and I'm going a different direction, but thank you." And because of my inner voice, because of my inner compass, what happened was I achieved a level of self-love that is absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
He was flabbergasted. He lost control.
Yes.
And we became in balance, and what I realized, and I think I've written about this also, is that he is an enormous being of light. He maybe is a different level of expressing his consciousness and his awareness, but he is an individual aspect of all that is, and he is just expressing in this unique way, gifting me with the experience that I think I created anyway, so that I could learn one of the essential qualities that we also write about in the book, which is self-love. So there's a left-right story for you. Yeah, I went right instead of left.
Yeah.
And it worked out beautifully.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, I got a telephone call a year ago from this male voice that I did not recognize. And the male voice assumed I knew exactly who it was after all these years, and it was that individual, and he called me to apologize.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, that is amazing.
Yeah, so no judgment at all about that experience. It was just an experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Me too. You are the example because it took a lot to go through that kind of processes. But when you go through it, well, it helps yourself so much inside.
And I appreciate that, Amber, because it was exquisitely difficult. That
Yes,
abuse, I'll just speak on behalf of hundreds and hundreds of probably thousands of people on the planet who have different forms of abuse.
yes,
Uh, it was verbal and it was so penetrating. I mean,
yes,
it really just paralyzed me.
yes,
And looking back on it, I can't imagine how that state of being happened. There was a little physical. I went into the hospital, I think, once, um, but that moment of looking him in the eyes
yes.
and just saying, "Thank you.
Mm,
I don't want any more of this."
no, never again. It's over.
Yeah, but you know what it was? And we've talked about this a lot. It was, I think, subconsciously at the time, and I hope now consciously in this new
Yes.
paradigm,
Mm,
me making a different choice.
yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Very much. Very
And
much. And I
and
honor you for this sharing so open and going through this. Thank you.
Amber, I appreciate that. But that's what you did when you went to the hospital. You made a different choice.
Hmm.
And you know, that's as simple as it gets. That's as simple as it gets. I'm a sovereign being. I now have accepted that. That's what this new paradigm is about. I have accepted that I am a sovereign being. I create my reality. I created that situation. What do I choose? Well, I don't choose to be abused anymore.
No.
And I'm going to take an action step. I'm not going to surrender and be passive. I certainly don't mean that at all. I'm taking an action step, and it's guided by my inner compass because the wisdom within knows exactly knows exactly what to do, how to do it, and how to get me out of the mess.
Yeah.
And so I just listened.
Yes.
And that's the hard part,
Yeah.
is to trust yourself.
Yeah.
But you're doing that really, I believe, day in and day out now, Amber. With
Well,
children.
I do the best I can.
And guess what? I'm going to repeat myself. How perfect is that?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
no matter what you do, it's not wrong.
No. Wow, what a liberation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this self-judgment, I think that's where we're moving away from now, is just acknowledging that we are indeed an individual aspect of all that is. Everything that we create is perfection and has no judgment. And all the things in your life concerning whatever you want to suggest, or in my life, just is.
Yes.
So how are your children adjusting to all of this? Have they been introduced to the fascinated observer and to
I tried, but they it's not easy. It's not easy. No.
well, and of course their inner wisdom is already so absolutely accelerated that
Yeah.
they're going to be writing the books and teaching us.
They do, and I have the feeling I try to explain, but they're in school, and there are the whole day so much. things popping up. So, and they're young, so it's quite a challenge to be the fascinated observer when all the children around are well, let's put it different. Because our talking, we grow.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're surrounded a whole day with children who have no idea about this,
Mm-hmm.
I see the reality like it is.
Well, you
Then,
know, our publisher, Jaylene Clark, is now having her grandchildren living with her, and she suggested that maybe she would put together a S.T.A.R fascinated observer for kindergarten.
yes, that's great. But
Well,
I believe it's more easy when they are very young than now. Mine are pubers, how do you say it? Adolescents. They are on an age that is already challenging very much. 14 and 13. It's a challenging age because of
right.
all the changes around them and in their bodies and everything. So
Mhm.
it's
Well, I think this is really a fascinating conversation, and maybe one we could really focus on for an hour on
yes.
another occasion. I guess what I'm querying here is the fascinated observer, is the philosophy of S.T.A.R
Hmm.
applicable to all of humanity, or is it age specific? Um, because as you know, I believe, well, what is my intention? To touch every person on the planet.
Yeah.
And so, never having thought about it before, I guess I would have to suggest that if there is truth in what it is I am sharing, it's true for, it has the potential to be true for all of humanity.
Now comes up in me because I do it and I react in certain ways on the things that happen. They go in a way with me, you know, when
Uh-huh.
I approach them in a certain way, or the problems they come with, or the things they say, that already makes a difference, of course. Because I could go into the drama,
Right.
or I can look more as the fascinated observer.
Aha. And you're
Then I'm
relatively new to
different.
this.
So then I touch them already without
Yes.
words.
I think that is maybe the key, that you are relatively new to this philosophy and the concept of the fascinated observer, but as you express it 24/7,
Yes,
should that be your choice, then
yes,
you become the model, and they reflect on
yeah,
you as you handle your situations in life,
yes.
and then they can sort of say, "What's up with mom? I want some of that." And then what happens is they take it to the playground
Yes,
when the bully comes along.
yeah,
And you know what it has a lot to do with? The four essential qualities. And the biggest one, of course, is knowing your sovereignty, and then comes self-love.
yes,
So it was self-love that I was expressing in front of my abuser. It's self-love that we express on the playground when the bully
yeah,
tries to steal our energy. That's what's happening.
yes,
But no way, you can't have mine because I am self-contained.
yeah. And
So
that
I
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I would say, and we carry that from generation to generation. So the more I am aligned
Hmm.
and make my choices very clear and live that, they are in that field also. So I bring it to them. And in a way, I don't have to tell anything then,
That's
because
right.
they are so responsive to energy. As I look how I was young, there was
Right.
no issue with kind of talks. Now, and they grow up already with so much more.
Wow, Amber, this is really a powerful conversation because I, quite frankly, have written these books, but I've never taken it to the level that we're doing at the present moment, which is, can every person on the planet find value at some point, sometime, should they choose, with this philosophy? And I think what we're saying is that it's a process. And the process starts with knowing the answer to my favorite question, which is, who are you?
Yeah.
And your children know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
The question might be, is it being suppressed in them because of the collective consciousness?
Yes.
But once we know that we are sovereign beings and the creator of our reality, on the playground, no one can do anything to them. Just like I say, no one can do anything to me. I created it. I am the one that is orchestrating this. Am I on the right path here?
Yes. Yes, I agree.
And so it's not something that you can force on the children, for sure.
No. No.
I think that you've already said it, which is the energetic field that you are expressing and sharing with them
Yeah.
is giving them a different frequency,
Yeah.
for sure, in their energetic field, because it's the law of harmonic resonance, that we either run away from your amazing field or we entrain
Yes.
with it.
Yeah.
And there are people that probably are running away from you.
I know.
Oh my gosh, here comes this whopper-do energy in the room. Time for me to leave. But so it's so subtle. What was it a friend of mine said the other day, that she absolutely knows that all she has to do, if she has to do anything, is stand on a street corner, period, for there to be a difference on the planet?
We're doing by doing nothing.
By doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I am determined to have a workshop. As a matter of fact,
course, why not?
the one that I am dreaming in India in October, I've already orchestrated sections in it where I say nothing.
Yeah. Great. Yes.
It's on the agenda. Silence.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do a Google Hangout where we say nothing. We'll just.
It's great.
Because we have this enormous frequency, and the intelligence, this innate intelligence, is telepathically communicating. Who was it? Oh gosh, Rupert Sheldrake. I saw an interview with Lilu Mace, and he was talking about telepathic communication between animals. Well, they don't bark and purr at each other to communicate. It's this energetic field, and I believe that we've suppressed that.
Yes.
That it has been wrung out of us, and it's reemerging. This ancient wisdom is coming back. And so why can't I sit in a room with you and say nothing and have enormous conversations?
Let us tell you something. I believe we already had just by sitting next to each other.
Well, so tell the audience what that means.
Well, I had a, I was very happy to meet Nina finally in person in the Netherlands. She was there in December, and well, it's not to put in words, but when we sit next to each other, I had the feeling we did exchange so much, and it was so great without saying anything or even having thoughts. But I felt, well, the love flowing. That's love for me, and that's grace for me. Because I know as a little child, I often looked around me, and I come from a very religious background, and everybody was always talking, talking, and then I was looking, and I became silent, and in the silence, I could uh, I could better listen. And when there was a silence, the moment there was a truth, there was silence, then I felt the field so much better and so much, yeah. Sometimes I thought I don't say a word, I just sit there and feel or something, and that's great because then happens so much. And for me, it was always healing to not talk. It was healing inside.
Wow, that's really
So it
good.
was healing for me to sit next to you.
And you know, that's what comes to me is the word inspire. You know that teaching for me is over and seeking is over and inspiring is what's
Yes,
left. And so that seems to be a really good word for what we were doing with and for each other.
yes.
Just inspiring through this incredible energy. So, Amber, our hour is about to terminate, and what I'd
Mhm.
love to do is just ask you if you have a couple of words you'd like to share, and I'll do the same, and then we'll say bye-bye.
I was very busy these last days, so I didn't understand quite well that you also could listen. But
I'm so glad, because it's been fun to have the
so,
visual.
but I will thank you all very much for being there and listening to me. And I hope it's, well, I'm sure it was good for us all. But thank you very much. Namaste.
Oh, and Amber, you know, I'm going to repeat myself again. What we have done, all of us, and those who will be listening to the broadcast in the future, is we have taken a coherent thought, which is the philosophy of S.T.A.R, and we have discussed everyday experiences. And the energy from those coherent words and thoughts are now in the field, and the possibilities are exponential for us as the observer to collapse into a new reality. So this conversation has been enormous and has impacted the field and has assisted star seeds in what I believe is why we came back to the planet to create and anchor the new earth and the golden age of divine love. So I take very seriously what we have done today and the laughter we've had and the conversations we've had, and for you to play with me in person. And I hope that those who are listening will do likewise, because the exchange is so valuable and so nurturing for me. So I really appreciate that. And just in the last minute, my website is ninabrown33.com, and as many of you know, if you do a /community-star, then that gives you access to the Google Hangouts and broadcasts, etc. So, Amber, I love you dearly. All the way
Mhm.
across the ocean, it feels like you're in my living room.
Yes. The
And thank you.
same, the same.
Yeah, I love
Love
it.
you too.
And I love the incense you gave me. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank you for that. And
Yeah.
to all the viewers, present and in the future, I'm just enormously grateful, and really thank you for coming back to the planet so we could play. Okay, bye-bye.
Same to you all. Bye-bye.